Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a massive hypothetical clash set in the absolute most dangerous region of the Grimm Shadows universe, the Deadlands. We're stepping right into the crosshairs of a brutal showdown between two incredibly lethal, fanatical, and highly dangerous factions. We've got the Guild of Hex Hunters on one side, facing off against the Order of Mage Hunters of the Dreaming Empire on the other. Both of these groups operate with extreme prejudice, but they rely on vastly different methods to get the job done. So we're going to impartially analyze their deep lore, their specialized weapons, and their specific combat tactics. Our goal here is to see who survives in two very distinct scenarios, a one-on-one fight to the death and an all-out winner-takes-all war as complete organizations.
Here is our fight card for today's Explainer. 1. The Deadlands Feud. 2. Stats for the Hex Hunters. 3. Stats for the Mage Hunters. 4. Scenario one-on-one. And 5. Scenario winner takes all.
Section 1. The Deadlands Feud, with its overlapping jurisdictions. Let's jump right into the inciting incident.
The root of this entire clash is purely ideological and territorial. It's basically a massive turf war. The Hex Hunters believe that monsters and necromancers belong strictly to their field of expertise. But on the flip side, the Mage Hunters are the sanctioned inquisitors of the Autumn Throne. They firmly believe that spellcasters, renegades, and void-touch beings fall entirely under their imperial authority. So, when a rogue mage or necromancer flees into the cursed Deadlands, the Mage Hunters just refuse to recognize any border. And the Hex Hunters? They view them as arrogant trespassers who are just destroying evidence and ruining their highly specialized hunts.
Section 2. Stats for the Hex Hunters, the Mutated Saviors.
To really understand who wins this inevitable clash, we have to look closely at our combatants. The defining trait of a Hex Hunter is something called witchblood. They take ordinary humans, usually surrendered to the guild as kids, and they permanently alter them. This mysterious alchemical catalyst is actually brewed from harvested monster parts, and it completely rewrites their physiology. We're talking superhuman strength, incredible speed, rapid healing, and a flat 50% resistance to magic. But this power is absolutely a double-edged sword, because it saddles them with a permanent, inescapable biological addiction.
If a Hex Hunter doesn't get a steady, constant supply of witchblood, they enter a horrific state known as the Red Curtain. This is a homicidal, wildly unpredictable withdrawal. Their mind fractures into a pure killing rage, and they will literally slaughter anyone in their path. Innocent bystanders, even their own guild comrades, nobody is safe. And because the onset of this withdrawal is totally unpredictable, it varies based on the specific monster parts used in their last dose. Hex Hunters are basically forced to operate almost entirely as lone wolves.
So, how does this brutal biological reality dictate their loadout? Well, it's a fascinating tale of the tape. Hex Hunters wear hardened leather that's been modified for completely silent movement. They carry a really versatile arsenal that relies heavily on silver. We're talking blades, spears, chains, and hammers, all tailored to hunt specific monstrosities. Their tactics are entirely built around solitary stealth, incredibly high mobility, and relying on enhanced senses, like being able to see in total darkness to ambush their targets.
Section 3. Stats for the Mage Hunters, Inquisitors of the Autumn Throne.
Now let's march across the battlefield and examine the opposing force. The Mage Hunters are a massive, empire-wide organization divided into 8 unique schools, like the really aggressive Black Sharks or the much more cautious Stream Ravens. But they all serve one core mission. These guys are heavily armed fanatics who operate under absolute imperial sanction to hunt down rogue magic. Their authority is genuinely terrifying. They often strike first and ask questions later, fully believing that a burned village is a perfectly reasonable price to pay to stop a void-touch threat or an insane sorcerer from spreading.
This intense, ruthless doctrine heavily dictates their combat profile. Unlike the solitary Hex Hunters, Mage Hunters are a literal army. They use adaptable armor ranging from light gear for quick pursuits all the way up to heavy plate for full-on assaults. They carry steel swords, axes, shields, and crucially, bows. Their tactics revolve around highly disciplined unit formations and an absolute shoot-first doctrine designed to totally overwhelm a target before a single spell can even be cast.
What really makes the Mage Hunters so devastating is their institutional backing as an actual army. They have massive empire-wide numbers, the authority to just commandeer local town guards, and the sprawling logistical supply chains of the entire Dreaming Empire. Look, they aren't superhuman, but they bring extreme, unhesitating violence and rock-solid secure perimeters to completely control a battlefield.
Section 4, Scenario 1-on-1. A fight to the death.
Now that we know exactly what they're capable of, let's run the simulation. Picture this: a single mage hunter, somehow separated from their squad, crosses paths with a solitary hex hunter in the cursed ruins of the Deadlands. Objectively speaking, the mage hunter definitely has the defensive edge with heavy armor and intense tactical discipline, but the hex hunter possesses superhuman speed, raw mutated strength, and the ability to see perfectly in the pitch black of the Deadlands, an environment they literally call home.
And this brilliantly illustrates a super fascinating combat dynamic. That 50% magic resistance the Hex Hunter has, actually, scratch that, it's completely moot here. Why? Because mage hunters rely on ordinary steel and arrows, not spellcasting. It is a massive tactical realization. However, a mage hunter's greatest strength is their squad. Stripped of their unit and facing a being that fundamentally overpowers human physical limits, the mage hunter is at a severe disadvantage in a one-on-one fight. The Hex Hunter is faster, stronger, and built specifically to silently dismantle threats far more durable than a human in plate armor.
But there is a huge wild card to consider here. What if the Hex Hunter is slipping into the withdrawal of the Red Curtain? In this state, they become a mindless, reckless killing machine. Now, on one hand, this berserker rage might simply batter right through the Mage Hunter's shield and armor through sheer terrifying force. But on the other hand, the Mage Hunter is a highly disciplined Imperial soldier explicitly trained to remain calm against horrors. A careless, raging mistake by the Hex Hunter could be exactly the opening the Mage Hunter needs to slide a silver dagger through a gap in the leather.
Section 5. Scenario Winner Takes All. War in the Deadlands.
That was the individual duel, but what happens if this feud goes fully hot? Let's look at this number, 100. That single number completely changes the math. There are, at most, an estimated 100 active Hex Hunters in existence at any given time. Compare that to the thousands of mage hunters spread across the 8 schools of the Dreaming Empire. The sheer scale of this conflict is immediately wildly lopsided.
In a prolonged winner-takes-all war, the mage hunters have endless Imperial funding, fresh recruits pouring in, and highly disciplined unit tactics. Hex hunters, on the other hand, are completely incapable of fighting in formations. Because of the constant looming threat of the Red Curtain, putting 10 Hex hunters in a single room is basically just RSVPing to a massacre if even one of them misses a dose. They are forced to fight a heavily organized army as a scattered collection of solitary assassins.
And this brings us to the ultimate strategic vulnerability, the logistics of addiction. Honestly, the mage hunters don't even need to hunt the Hex hunters directly to win a war. If the Imperial forces simply secure the Deadlands and cut off the Hex Hunters from their monstrous prey, the entire guild collapses. A Hex Hunter absolutely must kill monsters to harvest parts for their witchblood. Deny them that prey, and the entire guild falls to the Red Curtain en masse, turning on each other and wiping themselves out without the Mage Hunters firing a single arrow.
Section 6, Conclusion, the final verdict. We've explored the lore, the weapons, and the logistics of these two terrifying factions. It's time to bring this all together. Based on the source material, a one-on-one fight strongly favors the brutal, biological mutations of the Hex Hunter. Their sheer speed and strength in the dark make them an absolute nightmare for a single, isolated human soldier. However, in a total, winner-takes-all organizational war, it heavily favors the Mage Hunters. Their limitless Imperial resources, unbreaking squad formations, and ability to exploit the Hex Hunters' biological addiction to witchblood give them a massive strategic advantage.
But, as the lore constantly reminds us, the Deadlands are cursed, chaotic, and entirely unpredictable. Since this bloody rivalry remains open-ended in the canon, I have to pass this over to you. Looking at the superhuman addiction of the solitary Hex Hunters on one side and the fanatical, overwhelming Imperial might of the Mage Hunters on the other, based on these facts, who do you think actually walks away from the Deadlands victorious?